What's going on, guys? Ben here with Strong Insurance. Today we are going to discuss ISS scores, what they are, how they're calculated, what are the 7 primary categories that make up your ISS score, and why these scores are so important. So ISS score stands for the Inspection Selection System. This system has been created to determine how often a fleet of trucks or a owner-operator, regardless of your size, needs to be inspected. So there's 3 different ways that you see these scored. Now, you can have a score from 1 to 100, but there's 3 different categories within that scoring tier system. The first is going to be your inspect category. This is going to heed you a ton of inspections. You're going to get inspected 9 times out of 10 when you pull through these scales. It's not a good place to be. It's not where you want to be. This is going to be a score anywhere from 75 up to 100. Next below that is your optional. This is going to be a 50 from 70 or 50 to 74. You are still more likely to get inspected, but obviously not as much as in the inspect category. And then lastly, you are going to have what's known as the pass category. This is going to give you the least likelihood of getting inspected when pulling through scales or going through a DOT inspection. It's going to be any score that is 49 and below. So let's look at how these are kind of calculated and the 7 basic categories. So the 7 basic categories that make up your ISS score are your hours of service, unsafe driving scores, driver fitness scores, your controlled substance and alcohol scores, your vehicle maintenance scores. If you're hauling hazardous, it's going to apply to you regardless, but your hazardous material compliance score and your crash indications. Those are the 7 categories that make up your ISS score. Making sure that you have all your T's and crossed and I's dotted in all of those categories will result in an optional or pass score. Now, why are these so important? One is the time saved on the road, right? Anytime that you're getting inspected, that's time those wheels are not moving. That's money coming out of your pocket. So by keeping yourself in a pass status, you are moving down the highway more than the guy next to you who's running the same fleet, who's in inspect status and is getting stopped every time he's going through a weigh station. Anytime that there's a checkpoint, he's getting stopped every single time. You're rolling on through 9 times out of 10, he's getting stopped 9 times out of 10. Additionally, when this score is looked at for insurance purposes, if you're in that inspect category, 1, it's going to be really hard to find insurance in the first place. It gets more difficult. And 2, when you do find it, it will be at an elevated premium compared to someone in the optional and pass categories. Optional is pretty good. It kind of depends on what side of the optional you're on. If you're 50-52, that's not so bad. If you're 73-74, right on the cusp of going into the inspect status, that will be weighted in your premiums. And then naturally, if you're in the pass status, you're green flag, satisfactory, ready to rock and roll. Lots of carriers will work with you, especially assuming that you have 2+ years in business. We have seen rates right now of people that have 2, 3, 4, 5 years in business that are under 49 on their pass, on their ISS score, and they're paying $8,900, $9,800, 10 grand per truck per year for their insurance, while the next guy in the inspect status is paying 22, 23, 24, maybe 18 if they're really lucky and find the right carrier. So there's a ton of implications on what your ISS score does for you as a business owner or a fleet manager. So it's definitely something you want to keep an eye on. Here at Strong Insurance, we use Central Analysis Bureau to review your ISS scores. We order those on a quarterly basis if you're a client of ours to ensure that we're maintaining the best ISS score we possibly can. And if we see anything that we think could help you reduce that score, we jump on it and let you know about it and see if we can't get you helped out. Now, one of the big things to really keep in mind when it comes to ISS scores and how they're weighted is they are most heavily weighted in the first 12 months of having a failed issue, whether that's an accident or unsafe driving violation or an hours of service violation. They're going to be more heavily weighted in that first 12 months, and then they will start to kind of wean down how many points they cost you as they age when you hit 12 months and 24 months and so on. Now, the other thing to keep in mind here is if you are a small fleet, these scores can be hurt a lot easier than someone who's got 20, 30, 40, 100, 200, 500 trucks, because they have multiple inspections to offset one or two bad inspections. Whereas if you're running 1, 2, 5, 10 trucks, it only takes one or two of these inspections or failed issues or points bearing violations to really start to jack up your ISS score, and it can put you in a bad place from an insurance standpoint. There are a few shippers and brokers out there who are tracking ISS scores and may not work with you if you have a really high ISS. So there's a ton of implications as far as what an ISS score is. If you have any questions, additional questions on this, feel free to reach out to any of our TRIP certified agents in the link below this video. If you want to continue to learn more about the trucking insurance industry and the trucking industry as a whole, feel free to give us a like, follow, and subscribe. And as always, keep it rubber side down.